quick. Welcome to Bella in Your Business. I'm Bella Vasta, and I have such a treat for you guys today. I have the sales lion, insert roar here, Marcus Sheridan with me, who is the self-proclaimed used to be pool guy, but now digital marketer. Marcus, how you doing today?
I'm with you, so that means I'm good. I'm going to be energized, and I love your people, as you know. So it's great to be here.
I know it's not every day I get to talk to someone the New York Times calls a web marketing guru. But Marcus, I want to pull it back for our listeners, back to 2012 when I first met you. It was a really tiny, tiny conference in Las Vegas. There was only like 12 of us there, and I just remember being blown away by how captivated you were, and how you knew everyone's names, even, and you just really changed the face of my company at the time, and I was focusing on my pet sitting company then. And as luck may have it, I ended up in the airport with you waiting for our flights. And Marcus, I don't know if you know this, but you had a life change. That was like a life changing moment for me because you were like, Bella, you can do anything. Like, you're going to do this
Oh,
coaching thing. Like, you can totally do it. And fast forward, I've sold the pet sitting company and now I am doing the coaching company. And I'm going to get into this in a little bit, but you have this great new book. Finally, I know it was
yay!
like such a labor of love.
Yeah,
They
yep,
ask you answer. And there's a section in here where you talk about being a media company with your company, which
yeah,
is totally what I've turned into. But before
yes.
we get into all of that, why don't you just give the quick story for everyone so they know who you are, how you got there, from the pool business to the sales lion.
Yeah, here's the quick 101. I started in 2001 a swimming pool company with two friends. And, we struggled along up until 2008 when the market crashed. And that's when we were in big trouble. We lost a huge amount of money and we were on the edge of bankruptcy by January of 2009. In fact, I can specifically remember I had 16 employees sitting at home. I was 3 weeks overdrawn in my business bank account. We were maxed out on all of our business credit cards. And it was just brutal. It was a tough time, Bella. As you, as a business owner, understand, you
Yeah.
have your highs and lows, and that was a really, really low time. But that's when I started to say, okay, I've got to generate more traffic, more leads, more sales than we ever have. We just don't have any money to do it. And of course, I turned to the internet and I started to read and saw these fancy phrases like inbound and content marketing and social media, digital marketing, all these things. But to me, what I essentially read in my simple pool guy mind was, so Marcus, if you just obsess over the questions that people ask you every day, their fears, their issues, their worries, their concerns, and you're willing to address them on your website through text and video, you just might save the business. And so we embraced a four-word philosophy, which of course is they ask, you answer. Yay! And and to make a long story short, we became the most trafficked swimming pool website in the world. And today we get about 600, 700,000 visitors a month during the summer. And we started manufacturing pools as well because we got so many leads from all over the country that people trusted us and they wanted to buy from us. And so now I've got dealers that are sprouting up everywhere, and it was just so great. And I started telling that story of what I was doing, and I started a personal blog called The Sales Lion. This was actually late 2009, so still pretty early in the game. Nobody really paid attention for the first year or so, but then all of a sudden somebody said to me, "So do you think you could show our company how you did that with your pool company?" And somebody else said, "Could you tell that story at our conference, at our event?" And it just snowballed, and now I get to travel around the world and speak to wonderful people, businesses big and small, and hopefully make a difference. It's been an amazing ride.
Oh, I think making a difference is an understatement. You create like a tsunami. Um, One of the things I want our listeners to understand is that Marcus is like, he's about balance and he's a family guy first. So while you'll hear a lot of noise out there that says you've got to break your back, you've got to like just work like 16 hours a day or
Grind,
more.
grind, grind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Marcus isn't like that. And he lives it. And he created this show. Could you tell everyone what the balance is? I've learned so much personally about you, and that
Yeah.
inspired me for my vlogs too. Like it's just
Oh, thank you. Well, the
Seriously.
balance, believe it or not, um, so I'm gonna be really honest with you because you're my friend. And let me just preface by saying I think Gary Vaynerchuk is a great guy and has a great message, and I think he's impacted a lot of people for good. But at the same time, everybody has a particular style,
Mhm.
has a particular way that fits them. And Gary actually says this a lot. He says, "You be you. You don't have to be me. You be you." He says this a lot. Well, one time I was teaching a group of people in Scotland, as a matter of fact, and I said, "Do any of you ever watch the Daily V?" And everybody in the room was like, "Yeah, I've watched that show. Yeah, yeah, yeah." And I said, "So does anybody here ever get a little bit depressed after watching that?" And it was like you could tell people looked around, and then like people started to slowly raise their hand, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I said, "Why?" And then we had this amazing conversation of people saying, "I don't feel like I can be that person. I want to crush it at home. Like I want to win big at home. I want to win big in my personal life. I want to win big in the office."
Yeah.
And so I said, maybe I'll show how I'm trying to do that. Keyword being trying, right? Because we're all on this journey and nobody's got to figure it out. And so we finished season one. Season two will start in a couple of weeks. And it's been a lot of fun. And it's been really fun too, because just like you said, Bella, it's like you have different conversations with people when they have seen the inside of your home.
Yeah.
It's just a different vibe. And I really have enjoyed it a lot. Very, very much.
Right. I want to know what I need to do to get a tile up in your basement. And if any of you are wondering what I mean, go check out the balance from Marcus. Marcus, there's so many places I could take this because so many things are going through my head. It's so exciting and I could talk to you for hours. But I'm going to ask you about how did you realize that you kind of needed to slow down and start listening more? And then giving people the answers, because so many of us, we have these blogs. And I also think it's interesting that this was almost 10 years ago now that you kind of started on this, and the internet was so different back then. But you really kind of figured out that you needed to just start answering people's questions in the most honest, authentic, transparent way. Um, and yeah, I know you have 5 different ways of doing that too.
Yeah.
How, why don't you think more people listen? And why do you think people are afraid of just giving real honest answers?
So there's so many reasons for that. A lot of us are still living in the 90s where we feel like the more we hold back and wait until we're face to face with the individual, the better off we are.
Yeah.
Used to be you called the car salesperson and said, "How much is that car in the lot?" And he said, "Oh, well, just come on in." Well, come on in. The idea of that conversation today is laughable.
Yeah.
Like that conversation doesn't happen anymore.
Right.
All those guys are gone.
Yeah.
They're no longer in business if they continue to say that. And so much of that has occurred over these years. And it's been, for me, I always feel so blessed that I didn't get an MBA, that I wasn't like in a business school.
It didn't taint your mind.
Totally. I didn't overcomplicate it. I didn't suffer from the curse of knowledge. To me, it was like my simple pool guy brain was just answer their questions. I can do that. I knew I was a pretty decent teacher, so I can do that. Now, of course, I had my bumps along the road, but I could do that. And it only made sense. And I realized too, it was like, I can't do a lot of things well, but I can look in the mirror and say, well, how do I behave? How do I buy? What do I want to see? And so that's when we started to address things that nobody had addressed, like how much does, in our case, we sold fiberglass pools, right? So we addressed the hard questions that nobody wanted to address for some crazy reason that most pool companies to this day, Bella, haven't addressed. Like, how much does a fiberglass pool cost? Or what are the problems with a fiberglass pool? Or how does fiberglass pools compare to concrete pools? Which is better? And these are the type of things that nobody did because it's crazy stuff. Like fiberglass pool guys saying, okay, our biggest competitor is concrete pools. So in order to deal with the problem, this is what we're going to do. We're not even going to talk about them on our website. And if we don't talk about them, nobody will know they exist, which is so stupid. But this is, businesses still think like this. Like, like people are dumb. No, they're not dumb. Like at this point, we have the most educated buyer in the history of the world. They might start off as ignorant, but they won't always be ignorant. So you might as well be the one that they're going to learn all of it from, because they're going to learn it all from somewhere.
Yes. I was just having that conversation with someone. They said, well, I don't want to talk about the other pet sitters in the area. I don't want to talk about the other companies. And I'm like, people are going to find out anyways. So why not gain trust from your website? And something that you were just saying, these are some of your I don't timeless topics, the whole cost, the
Yes.
comparison, the problems. These are blogs or titles and things that you can use across every industry. This is
Every
a timeless. This isn't only for pools. You could do this for
Yeah,
widgets. I
there's
mean,
basically 5 subjects that move the economy. Like
mhm,
literally, when somebody's going to buy something, product, service, you name it, doesn't matter. They move the needle. And if you just think back to the last thing you bought or the last company you engaged, you researched these 5 things. You wanted to know how much was it going to be. You wanted to know what are the potential issues with that thing.
yeah,
So whether it's a method, whether it's a widget, whether it's a piece of equipment, what doesn't matter what it is, you want to know how could this blow up in my face? What are other people saying that's wrong with this thing? Okay.
yeah,
Number 3 is you want to compare that thing versus another thing, because there's all these options out there. And so psychologically, we have to feel like we have vetted. The only way you can feel like you can vet is if you have one versus another and possibly, some others. And so this is how we do it today. So that's the third thing, versus comparisons. The fourth one is reviews. That's obvious. We prolifically research what other people have said about companies,
uh-huh,
about products, about services. And then the fourth one is we always want to know what is the best thing. Best company, best this, best that, but we want to know the best. Doesn't mean that we're going to go with the best, but we like knowing because it helps us make a decision. And that literally moves our economy. So we call those the big 5. They're in the book. We describe them, and it's crazy, Bella, but you've heard me talk about this stuff for 6 years now, and most companies still don't do it.
hmm They're
Crazy.
afraid. They're afraid, or um, they're an ostrich. Can you tell our listeners what the ostrich effect is
Yeah.
here? I
Yeah.
never ever forgot this from the moment that I first heard this from you.
Yeah. I think the philosophy that most companies embrace with their digital platforms, their website, is ostrich marketing. And it comes from this idea that the ostrich, when it has a problem, it buries its head in the sand, which actually is a myth, but it's a great example. And so it's easy to see, and we've all heard it.
It's a good
And it buries
visual.
its head in the sand because it thinks the problem eventually will go away, right? But the problem never goes away. And so, therefore, we have a choice. Choice is we can either address it and own it, and in fact, possibly make it a strength, or we can pretend that the person just all of a sudden isn't going to be worried about, so what are the problems with the fiberglass pool? No, they're not going to forget.
I love it. What in it towards the end of the book, the part that really kind of lit me on fire, and this is kind of like the newer sales lion, the newer stuff, and it's very indicative of a lot of stuff that you're putting out on page 191. I'm going to be so specific here.
Nice
You
reference there on page
you
1.
answer the question about how important is video to inbound and content marketing, and just this explosion of video, and how Mark Zuckerberg is coming out and saying, guys, like, you do video, I'm gonna reward you for it. And you talking about being so trustworthy and transparent and sharing, and how just important video is becoming part of the sales process, and the transparency and the trust. Let's talk about that,
Yeah.
because you're
So
killing it on that too. And
thank you,
that's the
buddy.
balance.
Yeah. So so this is one of those things where there's a stat out now that I think is so profound, Bella. And the stat is this. By 2019, 80% of the content that is consumed online is going to be video. 2019 is not far away. And anybody that disbelieves that number, just hang around a teenager for more than 5 minutes.
No
They
kidding.
only view videos or images, but that's all they do. It's not a textual based generation at all.
Yeah.
And so we can complain about it, but that doesn't really help,
Right.
right? And so based on that, the question is, what are we doing about it?
Yeah.
Well, to counteract that, there's a group of people, business owners, folks in general, that like to say two things. A, I don't watch videos. And B, I'm not good on video.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's fundamentally flawed. And you know why, but I'm going to say it anyway.
No, please go for it. Preach it.
Because nobody cares how you feel about video. The only thing people care about is, can I learn about that thing the way I want to learn about it so that I have enough trust to give that company my money?
Yeah.
That is how it works. That's the simple psychology of it. And so nobody ever says, I will forgive you that you don't feel comfortable on camera. I'm now going to take that into account. Here's my money. No. They want to know you, like you, trust you, hear you,
Yeah.
listen to you.
Yeah.
And so this is why it's so important. Now, a video tip, if you will. Okay? Oftentimes people say, what's the first, like if I want to do video, where should I start? Where should I start? Well, where you should always start is what we call the 80% video. And the 80% video is this. And you know this, Bella, from years in the pet sitting space. When you go on a sales appointment and meet with somebody for the first time, 80% of the questions you get are always the same things.
Yeah.
Always the same questions.
Yeah.
And so the 80% video is the video that addresses the 80% of questions you get on that first sales call. Now, why is that so important? Because at this point, we have to have a singular goal, which is this. They want to be successful with sales, whatever my business is. I have to make sure they have seen my face, heard my voice, and listened to my doctrines, my philosophies, my teachings before I see their face, before I hear their voice.
Yeah.
And this is really important, right? And so video is the ticket for that. For years, I used to knock on doors as a pool guy when I had a sales appointment.
That is called hustling, people. Hustling.
Yeah. Let's say it was at 6 p.m. at night.
Yeah.
I'd knock on the door, and for years I would hear the same thing. Little kid in the background would say, "Mom, Dad, pool guy's here." And then I started to do video. And then I started to send video out, the 80% video, before I got there. And then it started to get really interesting. Because then I started to hear, "Mom, Dad, the guy on the video is here." And then, Bella, then I started to hear, and this is where it got most interesting of all, "Mom, Dad, Marcus is here."
Whoa.
And that's when you know you are going to have a very different conversation with that prospect, right? And that's the goal of video.
I remember you telling us at one of the places I've seen you speak that you would even say like, "Hey, I'm confirming our appointment in 2 days. Did you get a chance to read that stuff or watch that stuff I sent you?" No. Okay, it's all right. Well, it's really important that you do before I come so that you could be best prepared or da-da-da-da-da. Like, we'll reschedule it. And they're like, what? Like, you just flipped the script. But
that's a chapter in the book, and I call it assignment selling.
Yeah.
But assignment selling means, both people have a dog in the fight.
Yeah.
And too often when we're selling, it's you if you want to be really great with sales, you have to establish early on that this is a two-way street, that you're going to give, I'm going to give, and that we're both going to work to make this relationship work. It's a lot like a marriage, right?
Yeah.
And so unless both work, generally it's not successful.
Yeah.
And so, I was like, for years, I would go on appointments, Bella, sales appointments, and people would ask the dumbest questions. And I remember thinking to myself, these questions are so dumb. And then it hit me one day. I'm like, no, dummy. You were the dumb one. They're not dumb.
Yeah.
They are a byproduct of the fact that you have allowed them
To be
to be
uneducated.
uninformed.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And so I said, well, how do we stop that? And of course, that's when we integrated content into the sales process. And that's when we committed people to watch certain videos or read certain guides before we got there.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you what, the closing rates just exploded. It was unbelievable. And I taught that to organizations now around the globe, and it's the same every time. It's the same every time. It's like
Yeah.
people are amazed how much vetting folks will do before they buy.
Right.
It's just we underestimate it. You know what's crazy, Bella?
What?
It's like I ask one question I love to ask audiences is, on average, how many pages of your audience do you think a potential customer would be willing to read before they buy? Do you know, I don't care the industry, everybody says the same thing, 2 to 3. 2 to 3. And it's like 2 to 3. 2 to freaking 3. I mean, what? Think about that. Like you even take the pet sitting space.
Yep.
This is like a child
Yeah.
that they're going to entrust somebody with. It's worth more than 5 minutes of their time
Mm-hmm.
to vet the company. But yet
Mm-hmm.
we say things like 2 to 3.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why we say that is because we got this very just like myopic vision of consumers. Heck, there's people listening to this that recently had to decide between an iPhone and a Samsung, and they read dozens and dozens of articles or videos
Yeah.
comparing the two because they didn't want to screw up.
Yeah. I love it. And there was a point I also remember, and in the book too, and it goes along with what you're saying. It's like you were able to track that after someone consumed X amount, I think it was 12 that I remember, 12 pages of your website at the time, that the chances of you closing the sale was exponentially higher. And I just think about all of the pet sitters who say, I don't know what to blog about. I don't want to blog. Like, those 5 things that you just told us about could be used for every single keyword, you guys. Like, all you got to do is get cracking on it. And may it sound like you're saying the same thing over and over again? Maybe, probably. But people are going to be looking for that stuff. And if they can find it through you, if you can, I took your method, and I used to have, like, say, dog walking, and then I'd tell what the service was, but then I'd say, do you want to see what it looks like? Here's a link to a video. Do you wonder
Yeah,
what happens on it? Link to a blog, and it described it. So it kind of came more
beautiful.
alive for them. And it works. Marcus, last night I had someone tell me for coaching that I was currently on their TV because they were watching me on YouTube, and that they listened to how, like, all of my podcasts, and they were reading my blogs, and they wanted to buy something. I never met this person in my life, but she felt like she knew me. She was able
That's
to
right.
consume my content. And this is a great thing for people that say, I hate to sell, to really consider flipping the script on this,
It's beautiful.
because your
Now,
content does that selling, right?
so here's the question. Did that gal have a
Yeah.
face-to-face sales appointment with you?
Nope. I don't even know where she lives to this
Now, see
day.
that, but therein lies the debate. You didn't have one with her, but did she have one with you?
Yes, she did.
If you're on her screen, if
Hmm.
she's sitting there listening to your stuff, definitively, she did have a face-to-face with you. And so the
Yeah.
way that we're defining face-to-face sales is changing. It's evolving into this magical thing that we can go on a multiplicity of sales appointments at one time. We can teach people when we are asleep. We can be in their home teaching them when we ourselves are playing with our kids.
Yeah.
That is the beauty of this. And so people get into the pet sitting space because they have a serious love of animals. And that is a beautiful thing. And what's sad about it is many of them, when they get into business, the thing that they love causes them also the most pain and stress
Yeah.
because it sucks the joy out of it. It's like the chef that
Hmm.
starts the restaurant. And this thing that is food causes him or her just to completely go crazy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what can we do to make our life easier? And
Right.
what we're talking about here is these are principles that are going to last forever.
Yeah.
Because and I would challenge everyone, don't see a quote as blogging per se. See it as you must be the best teacher in your space. You must be more helpful than anyone else. When somebody has a question, do they think of you? Do they go to you? Do they know that, yes, Bella has it, she will provide? And if you have that goal, well then you will say, okay, I can do this. I will produce the content. I will turn that video camera on for the first time. I'll embrace the messy. And that's one other side to this. I think it's critical to bring up, Bella, is one of the most important phrases to this whole thing is that period of time from when we are just terrible at something to the moment when we start to get it. And
Right.
that's the phase of embracing the messy. And most people, they just want it to be perfect out of the gate. That's not the human way. We don't
Hmm.
just
They're paralyzed
we don't
by
just
perfection.
yeah, like we don't just come out of the womb walking.
That would be
You know what I'm
funny.
saying? It just doesn't happen. And so we have to allow for this and be okay with good. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is progress. Progress over perfection every single time.
Right. Well, Marcus, as we wrap this up, which I hate to do because I could keep going, I am relieved and excited to know that I am going to ask you to sign this book at Social Media Marketing World
Can't wait to see you there.
2017.
Can't wait to see you there.
I
What
am
a
so
event.
excited.
I'm thrilled that you're going to be there. The energy of that event is contagious. You will see. It's going to be wonderful.
I already can feel it, and I've already started looking up different speakers, and I'm so excited to go. Admittedly, it's the first time I'll be away from Olivia since she's come home from the hospital for
Right.
that period of time. But you know what? You got to do stuff for yourself and invest back in your business. And I'm so excited that you're going to be presenting. Kate
Love
McQuillan from Ireland's going to be there.
to see Kate.
Kirsten and Liliana and a couple other pet sitters are joining us as well. So we're gonna have a good old time, you guys.
I got a feeling
Marcus,
y'all might have a late night meetup somewhere. I just got that feeling.
well, duh, we're all staying at the same hotel. I mean, it's gonna be like a dorm room for like four like days. So
Oh,
it'll be
sorority
fun.
sisters.
It'll be fun. It'll be a lot of fun. Marcus, thank you so much. How can people get this book right now if they want? I'm gonna put a link to like Amazon. Is there any other way that you want them to
Yeah, I
do
mean,
it?
yeah. So Amazon is great. Barnes and Noble, you can get it there too. Just type in "They Ask You Answer." Anybody has any questions, you can just email me, Marcus at thesaleslion.com. But
Awesome.
one favor I would ask anybody, if they read it, please review it because
Yes,
that helps a lot. And so
of course.
please give it a review on Amazon if anybody's ever read it or applied it. And Bella, it's been so great talking to you. You look
For
great.
sure.
Your
Thank
blue eyes
you.
always just have this radiance about them. So it was so good
Thank
seeing you
you.
today.
I want to offer the first person to email me at Bella at Jump. You know what? No, the first three people to email me at Bella at jumpconsulting.net. I will mail you one of these personally because it will change your life. I promise. And I'm not just saying that. Like, it's changed my life. Marcus, thanks for all the time putting that into it. You guys, this is another episode of Bella in Your Business. Please like and subscribe to us on iTunes or Stitcher. And remember to always keep jumping.